Good afternoon, Nina, and welcome to People Manager on Cam.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lawrence, and good afternoon, PMAP. It's really a pleasure. It's a thrill, actually, to be here. And I just want to shout out to my soul sister, JV Wong, for this opportunity. Super excited.
There. That's right. So thank you, JV. No, JV has been very instrumental to inviting you and having you here with us this afternoon. So thank you for your time, Nina. And as
Thanks,
I've
everyone.
mentioned, Nina, no, our theme for today is going to be personal discovery. And people know that you are passionate and an advocate of creating and maintaining personal dream boards. So perhaps we can start by telling us your story on how that came to be.
Yeah, so actually, I've been a lifelong dream boarder or vision boarder. It probably started, I was about 10 or 11 years old. My mom gave me a copy of Chicken Soup for the Soul. I'm not sure if the Gen Z still know what that is, but
It's a
um,
classic. They should.
very classic. And I was very young, pre-teens, but there was a story about, I think it was Jack Nicklaus. He was a master golfer, and at the time he was talking in his essay or in the story about the power of visualization for his golf game. And my parents were also avid golfers, so I wasn't, but I could somehow relate. And being the nerd that I was, I said, oh, if he can do it for his golf game, maybe I can do it for my grades. So I actually started doing it na at the beginning of the
Mhm.
semester. I would create a fake grade report and say, this is going to be my grade for the semester. Ganun, it started out very simply. And then the nerd that I was used that as motivation. But I'm actually going to share a slide here where it became really pivotal, where it really changed my life. So from just, kiddie dream boards to college, how am I going to envision my life after I graduate, uh, also hearing and seeing Oprah talk about it, and then there was a time The Secret became really popular about the law of
Mhm.
attraction and manifestation. A really powerful period in my life really brought home for me the importance or parang the power of cut and paste. So I'll ask our backstage folks, La Martin. So I'll ask you to
Okay.
move to the next slide. So Dream Dare Do is the name of a workshop that I conduct, but this was a really pivotal dream board in 2013, and now I realize so that was 10 years ago. I was in the midst of a deeply personal crisis, like possibly the darkest time I was ever in throughout my entire adult life. And everything seemed so dark. And this was also a time na I had forgotten to dream board. Parang it was a
Mhm.
habit I used to have. And then, di ba, life happens, you get so busy, you forget certain things and certain practices. And there was one day I was really hyperventilating because of anxiety and depression. And I said, I need to clear my head. I locked the door. I took out my magazines. And it was really a flurry. I was doing it mabilis. And this was the dream board that emerged. And it really struck me that this dream board was so different from the life I was in back then. It was so colorful. You'll see here the keywords ba passion, the surreal life, inspiration, go where love is. So all of these somehow helped reconnect me to what mattered to me. It was pulling me back na Nina, you have to remember who you are. And it was again a very, very dark time in my life. And this really spurred for me a major personal transformation. And I'll ask Martin to go to the next slide. So, and I'll show you the impact. So, up on the left, and I am in no way body shaming myself or anyone. This was me at 33, 10 years ago. So, depressed, anxious, and aminin ko na po, that was the midst of a marital breakup. And it's probably the worst personal failure any person can ever go through. So there were many layers. That was me back then. And the image to the right was my self portrait. So it's a crying girl, like, and then her mouth is somehow like there are symbols, but she can't speak. So it was very symbolic of the darkness I was feeling inside. But that dream board woke me up to this is who you are. This is how you reconnect back to yourself. And I started to eat better, started to work out. I told myself I'm going to reclaim myself. The whole period was really about self-love. And about a year later, you'll see below, that became my self-portrait a year later when I realized, uy, wait lang, gising, di ba? wake
Mm-hmm.
up from the darkness you're in. And fast forward to the last two photos are that was this year, me at 43 years old. So 10 years later, it's been a 10-year journey. And I can really say that it was that one pivotal dream board that helped me. But I'll share other examples of how you can apply this at work. But for people who know me, and Joy will also attest, I'm an example of how my dream board literally saved my life.
Thank you for sharing that, Nina. No, and seeing na you started from such an early age, no, not really consciously knowing that you've already started dream boarding, no, up to the
Mm-mm.
point wherein you of course you matured, you went through different challenges, and then you've been doing it more consciously now, no. So that really gave us a good picture of the impact of dream boarding, and we have you, no, someone, a CEO, a founder, no, really seeing the successes and the contribution of dream boarding. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think at this point, our viewers would also want to know, no, and perhaps be very excited, like
Mm-mm.
how what would be the specifics, no, like if they are going to be starting dream boarding, no, perhaps they are just starting out in their professional careers, no, or perhaps
Yes,
they are
yes.
more established, no, and are trying to benchmark, trying to understand like what makes
Mm-mm.
for a good dream board, no, so that perhaps, no, they can also follow the same successes that you've had in using this, no, in your life.
Yes, okay. Thank you. That's a really great question. I'll ask for the next slide. I'll use that as a prompt
Mm-hmm.
for some of the ideas I'm going to share. So this was a dream board I made in 2019 when I was discerning about two career options. There were two job offers. I'll talk about the outcome later. But if you look here, a dream board, actually, there are no right or wrongs. Diba? So your dream board is really yours. It's about your truth. It's about your authenticity, your voice. For me, I'm just very much a fan of, analog. I actually buy old magazines, or I still keep old magazines, and maybe the Gen Zs are like, what's a magazine? But actual print magazines, because I love literally the power of cut and paste. So yun, I have
Mm-hmm.
some of my boards here. They're very tactile.
Mm-hmm.
But some people will also do their dream boards digitally, right? There are many tools to go about it. But here are some things you have to remember when you're dream boarding. Dream boarding or vision boarding, it's pretty much like putting together the vision for a house that you want to build, right? It's like the blueprint. Um, let's say you really want to build a house, you also have to determine, is it a bungalow, is it two-story, duplex, etc. What's the style? Mediterranean, Balinese, Philippine. So the dream board is your way to visualize, not just I want to build a house by this
Mm-hmm.
date and by the time I'm like this. It really brings it to life. So number one, the vision board and the dream board, of course, has to be visual. That's why it's called vision.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to be able to do it, you really have to come from a place of quiet and stillness. So I would highly encourage that during the time you're doing your dream board, you really have to block out a good chunk of time. For me, about an hour. I usually reserve about 25 minutes for the cutting, meaning
Mm-hmm.
you're just tearing out pages or you're selecting images online, and that's all you're doing. And then about another 25 minutes for laying it out and, bringing the meaning, putting the meaning together of your dream board. But it's also really important that you start with a very clear intention and you ground yourself. So in all of my dream boarding workshops, I start with a meditation. So the meditation helps center, quiet, also opens up, your inner eye. Like there are things that you will want to surface from your subconscious or your unconscious. So you need to give yourself that space. um, and then you also have to be clear, what am I dream boarding about? So as I mentioned here, this one was a career board. The board you saw earlier, that was a general board. I actually had another board where I was trying to manifest, the right partner for me. Yung mga, 'di ba, may mga ganun eh. So there can be themes.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes you will manifest your health and wellness. So you have to be clear about intention. You have to block off space. You have to quiet down. But once you start doing it, you have to go with your intuition. Like
Mm-hmm.
don't edit yourself. Just look for everything that strikes you, that resonates with you, just get all the images, and then you lay out later on, because uh there's also magic in the process of curating. And then later on, may lalabas na meaning yan. The meaning will emerge, and only you will be able to figure out what that meaning is. So just to segue back, no. So this one was a career board that I made in 2019 at the start of the year. I was facing two job offers. One was with a corporation that I really wanted to join, like, and then the offer was good. Money was good, the company was good. I knew people in the company, so I knew, okay, this was going to be a good job. There's another offer, startup technology. It was a new world for me, but it was also a world that I was super excited by. So after this dream board, I was like, uh-oh, parang I'm not gonna go corporate, ah. I don't know, but to me it was like catalyst. I was looking at catalysts, creative. So actually, I went back to the corporation and I asked them, what are my opportunities to do innovation work in this role? And I asked, based on some of these keywords,
Mm-hmm.
I asked them. Unfortunately, it was the technology company that won out. So this board actually helped me decide which path to take. And then I'll just segue to the other board. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask for the next. So it ushered in a period for me of very high octane career growth. It was super fast paced. Next slide, please. And then at a certain point, I got burnt out. So you will see that this board is much gentler. This is the pandemic time at
Mm-hmm.
2021. There were certain things that were surfacing in my professional and personal life and the pandemic that I said, up, wait lang. I need to, in the middle, it says, I need to make it right. I might have gone, of course, I might have gone too aggressive towards one side. I need to find the balance, not just for me, for the world, and then the bigger goals for, country, community, the world just became clearer. So these are examples of how you can use it in many occasions, and I can
Mm-hmm.
share more tips later
Mm-hmm.
on.
Yeah, that was very in-depth, Nina, no? And I was actually thinking na I had a very shallow understanding and perhaps expectations of a dream board. And when you mentioned that you were able to utilize and use a dream board for decision making, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
now this is something, no? And then when you were able to show us, no, that it even helped you in trying to identify what would be a better career decision or option for you through the use of dream boarding, no? I was
Mm-hmm.
really excited, no, that perhaps, no, this is something that would also fit for perhaps my need, no, or perhaps the needs of my friends, or no, or of my
Mm-hmm.
colleagues that I can share with
Mm-hmm.
them, no. And you really went through the methods of how you do it, no. So I think that's very helpful because people might be thinking, if I'm going to be starting, what would be step one? No. So you're
Mm-hmm.
able that
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that you start with cutting muna, no, you really dedicate with actually meditation, no, really
Mm-hmm.
try to look for what would be the objective of why you are doing, no, the activity, no, the
Yes.
initiative, and then cutting it, and then really setting time to paste it, no. So really
Mm-mm.
a lot of method involved so that you could create, no, a good storyboard. Thank you for sharing that, Nina.
Yes, yes. If I may, I'll
Mm-hmm.
ask for the next slide, and I'll share how we were able to apply this to the corporate world. So maybe next slide naman. So um another slide please. So sige, sorry, another one pa. So I'll share with you. Okay. Hindi ata. Okay, another one. Sorry. I moved things around. Ayan, ito. So these
Mm-hmm.
are two examples of a group like dream boarding, or how we applied it in the
Oh.
corporate sector. In the upper photo, this was a team I actually used to be part of. And then after I left, a few years later, they said, "Wait, can you come back and facilitate something for us?" Because this was a year starter, and they said we need to be able to paint a very good picture of a team vision that the whole group can rally behind. Because for many of us, the vision statement is a statement on the
Mm-hmm.
wall, it's words. But this became an opportunity for all of them to say, no, this is what we're heading towards, and it became visual. They just wanted to draw more than cut and paste. So they had personal dream boards, but they also wanted to draw. They wanted to be really creative. And this was literally a visual that they said, this is what the visual is, this is what it means for us. and then this is how we're going to execute, in the year ahead. In the second photo, I just recently conducted something where it was ano naman, from the team mission. How do you connect it to your personal mission? So, or your personal vision. So, they knew what the team vision was, but the management wanted to connect it more deeply to your personal stake, right?
Mm-hmm.
How will this impact your personal life, and therefore how will it deepen commitment to the company? So there are many ways to go about it, and these things can be super revealing. But again, there are many ways to go about it, but very important is the intention,
Mm-hmm.
and then to really set aside time for it, and to be as visual and as creative as possible. Because for many people, this is probably the first or the very few times ever that they'll get to do this, and it became really, really powerful for them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if I'm going to be attending one of your workshops, that would be the first time that I'm going to be like creating
Oh
dream
wow.
board.
Okay, okay. Let's make sure that it won't be the first and it won't be the last.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So these photos, like for the upper on the upper half, I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
that it's a group output, no.
Yes,
So
yes.
people are creating like a common dream board, coming from
Mm-mm.
their different understanding, perhaps of the company
Mm-mm.
mission.
Mm-mm.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-mm. Diba?
Oh.
So many
Mm-hmm,
ways. There were some portions before that actually they were cutting and pasting stuff, but this
mm-hmm.
one just showed something that they drew because they wanted to be extra, and they said, "Oh, we want to draw stuff." Okay,
Yeah.
go lang. And
Mm-hmm,
it's very involved because well, me kasi I'm tactile, I'm kinesthetic, and I'm
mm-hmm,
visual. So a dream board really helps because I'm actually putting it together. And for people who are introverts, they can't really verbalize or articulate.
mm-hmm.
Some of them might be more drawn or motivated by something very visual and colorful.
Yeah, and this really leveled up, like dream board. It did for me, and perhaps
Mm-mm.
also for some of our viewers, given that a good majority of them would come from corporate,
Mm-mm.
and
Yes.
it's really an opportunity not only for them to explore, and do their
Mm-mm.
personal and individual dream boards, but there is also an avenue for them to use it at work, and use
Yes.
it as
Mm-hmm.
something that can bind the group
Mm-hmm.
together, perhaps like a small team or even a
Yes.
department or even a whole
Yes.
organization.
Absolutely. I've done this for couples, for small families, yeah, and for teams. So it can be as individual or as collective as you'd like it to be. I mean, try it at home, right? Imagine the power if you're also able to bring your spouse or your partner, your kids
Mhm.
together for a family dream board. That can also be super powerful.
That's right. I can only imagine. And perhaps I have one question, Nina, coming
Mm-hmm.
from what we've been discussing so far. So I'm just interested to hear, perhaps from your experience or perhaps from other people that you were able to help using dream boarding. No, I'm just curious. Like,
Mm-mm.
what happens after a certain person, already achieved what's already in their dream board? Like, do they
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
scrap it, or do they integrate it to their next dream board? I don't know. Perhaps you can share some anecdotes regarding that.
Yes, yes, no, that's great. So, well, in my personal example, I would have dream boards every year or every 2 years, and the dreams evolve, and
Mhm,
then sometimes there are themes. I know of people na okay, so they do the dream board, and then it doesn't. The timelines vary, but for some
mhm.
of them, or in a year or two, uy, parang eto na, I'm here already. So one of them actually did what is now a dream book. So
Dream. Wow.
first
Okay.
dream board, second dream board, and then she was compiling it also to show her journey.
Mhm,
Na, uy, this was me before, and then this is the next one. And then for some, it's some naman they make it thematic. It's
mhm,
personal, family, career. So
mhm.
they compile or they focus on another area. So it again, there are no right or wrong answers, and for as long as we're alive, we can continue to dream new dreams. Life stages evolve, right? Sometimes maybe for some, okay, the dream is to find a partner, get married, for example lang. For another, it's, oh, okay, expand the business. And then once the business has expanded, what's next? Maybe it's take some time off to travel. Or some, it's the evolution of the family. So many, many ways, and you can keep on dreaming and dream boarding for as long as you're alive, right?
Ang galing, no? Ang galing. This is very, very enriching, no? and being able to look at dream boarding now not just like a creative outlet, no, or a
Mm-hmm.
creative exercise, but also something that could really be productive at the individual level, no, and as what
Mm-hmm.
you've just shown, even at the organizational level, no, there are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
possibilities if we are able to just reframe the use of this
Mm-hmm.
particular tool. No, very very
Yes,
exciting. Thank you for sharing,
absolutely.
Nina. So I can just assume that you have a very thick book no of your past dream boards, no, with different themes, no, or different elements in your life.
Yes, I need more walls. I want to hang them, but they're quite big, and then I need more walls. So, but it's really also a document of the journey so far.
Amazing, amazing. Really, really looking forward, no, to join you in one of your workshops, no, so that I'd really be able to see, how other people would do it, no, or be able to get a walkthrough, no, on how
Mm-hmm.
to really start, no, and what would be the next steps, so that I could also come up with a dream board, no, that I will really, no, titignan ko siya every now and then, and I would be inspired
Yes,
to really move forward, no, and achieve, no, the dreams that are in there. And
yes.
we're since we're talking about like this passion of
Mm-hmm.
yours, Nina, no, and it has no doubt led you to seeing a clear view of the impact that you wanted to do for your
Mm-hmm.
community, no, for the community. And speaking
Mm-hmm.
of impact, no, very ano rin, very timely or coincidental. Can you also share more of the amazing things that you and your team in Imaginable Impact, no, of which you are founder and CEO,
Mm-hmm.
are currently up to, so that we may be able
Yeah.
to follow you, no, or maybe be able to join you in your
Yes.
ventures.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I'll ask for the slides to go back a couple more. Like there's one. Sige, one more. Yan. So this was my dream board last year.
Mm-hmm.
I had just quit a job. I got COVID. I was dream boarding while I was in the 10-day isolation. Literally
Oh,
all by
very
myself. I
productive.
took it it was a 10-day retreat. That's how I structured it. So this was the dream board, and I said, okay, now that I quit the job, I'm moving forward. What do I really want to do? And some of on the left side of the board is more about me, creativity, etc. And then there are parts where you see women around the world, a life without limits, creative. So there were some keywords that showed me na um parang my passion for women empowerment just wouldn't die. Like I couldn't quiet it down, and then it was very clear to me that I had to build something to be able to make diversity, equity, inclusion, women
Mhm.
empowerment a part of my day-to-day life, not just a hobby, not just during Women's Month. And
Mhm.
in partnership with the previous dream board, I really said na, mukhang this is the time for me to go entrepreneurial again. I'd been an entrepreneur before. I've failed. Therefore, the fear, diba?
Mhm.
So everyone would say, just get another job, etc. But I said, no, it's super clear. So fast forward, so that was July. I started ideating a bit more in October. And then on to the next slide, please. So fast forward, Imaginable Impact is now the company. We're what we call our whisper launch. It's softer than the soft launch. um, Whisper pa lang, di ba? But so the company is an inclusion strategy consulting firm, and it's very clear that we're niching on women leadership and inclusion in the workplace. So it's helping companies with their diversity, equity, inclusion strategy and their programs. And then because I'm still very much passionate about startups, another part of it is really helping more women startup founders succeed, connecting them with women investors, just seeing more women break out and succeed in certain spheres where it's still very much male dominated. So yon, medyo doon lumalabas yung palaban streak ko, but no, much much
Mhm.
gentler, right? And
Mhm.
very focused, and still very corporate. I have to say. And then just in the next slide, I'd like to invite everybody. We're on our pilot. What you will see here is a pilot episode, but we also have a podcast called Girl Make Your Move. You'll see here my co-founder Candice and myself, and we will be releasing season one very soon. And your very own JV Wong from TMAP will be there sharing her story. And again, it's really connecting women and conversations and seeing how we can move the needle on women empowerment and diversity, equity, inclusion in many different sectors. So that's how the dream board also helped me crystallize this is what we're going to be doing. And the dream boarding sessions, different kinds of workshops and programs, those are all part of the mix of what we do for companies. So no, but thank you so much for giving me a chance to share more about it. I
Of
will
course,
have
of
to say,
course.
it's very important aside from just dream boarding, and I'll ask you to please move to the next couple of slides, I think. So I know that, sige, next slide, pa. Ay, no, sorry, back na lang. So it's very important. So this quote will really highlight that there are some things in your subconscious that will come out when you dream board, but it's important for it not to stay as just a board.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi this is just a collection of pictures. And I know that you will have Dorothy Nilo as the next speaker. What is also important here is you process what this means. I actually
Mm-hmm.
have a workbook, but I will encourage everyone, if you do get the dream board or do these kinds of activities, you also have to journal and write down what does this dream board mean to you. In my workshops, I tell my participants to create what is called the dream manifesto. So it's putting your dreams to, like, okay, eto. So I have one of Dar's journals. Actually, I have a Belliger planner here. So I took a photo of my dream board and I actually wrote down in a way an essay, or yun nga, a manifesto of what does this board mean? Para it's crystal clear. What do these
Mm-hmm.
images mean? You create the narrative, right? So, yon, very important. Don't stay with just the dreaming. You have to
Mm-hmm.
dare, you have to do, you have to write it down, you have to plan, you really have to execute, diba? And project manage your dreams.
Very, very encouraging note, Nina. No, so thank you for sharing all of those, and to think, no, that all of the initiatives that you've been sharing, that you're inviting our viewers, our audience, no, into, are all a result of you having a dream board, no, and it's not just
Yes.
some random, no, initiative or
Mm-hmm.
activity that you've thought of, no. It's really something
Mm-hmm.
that's very personal to you, and I would
Mm-hmm.
assume, no, for your team members, no, for your colleagues, it's also
Mm-hmm.
something that's also personal to them, no, and that you're
Yes.
committed to really pushing through, and as you've mentioned, no, ensuring that those particular dream does not stay on the board,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
they will turn into
Absolutely.
reality, and that of course you may be able to process them in the future. Thank you so much for your time, Nina, and I know
Thank you
that
so
all of
much.
our viewers really appreciated your time, not just your time, actually your story. No, I know that it was very enriching, it was very valuable to hear it directly from you, no, someone who was able to really use dream boarding and come up with results, no, come up with such ventures that you have right now. Thank you for your time, Nina.
Thank you.
And hopefully we can invite you in the future pa, no, I know
Of
that this is
course.
not going to be the first, no, as you've mentioned then earlier, hopefully hindi ito yung first, hopefully this is just the first rather.
Yeah, and hopefully it's not the last. Just on the
That's
next
right.
slide, just one last slide. If anyone
Mhm.
wants to get in touch, this is how you can reach me. But yeah, super grateful to you, Lawrence, for the time and for the cuento, diba? To PMAP for this opportunity, and I really encourage everyone, do it at home, do it at work,
Mhm.
do it to inspire you and to keep you motivated.
Great, great. So please do connect, no, to our watchers, to our audience. Please do connect with Nina. Once again, Nina, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very
And
much.
this actually ends our first segment for the episode of March, which is musts. We're going to be entering a quick break, and we're going to be having another guest, no, again, still with the theme of personal discovery. See you in a few minutes.